Thank you very much, Chair. And my questions are directed to Mr. Fernandez, who's representing X today. I appreciate you providing statistics in your opening remarks today. Here's another one. A 2021 study found that in 5 G7 countries, Twitter had, quote, statistically significant difference favoring the political right wing. The study found that Canada had the largest discrepancy between the right and left, with Liberals having an amplification of 43% compared to 167% for Conservatives. Why does X favor right-wing politicians?
So our mission, our operations, our ethos are politically agnostic. Our algorithms actually don't factor in political sentiment and how they recommend content.
So I will ask you, does X provide financial support to any Conservative or right-wing politicians in Canada?
No, X does not engage in any political giving anywhere in the world.
So in May of this year, X announced that it would be funding Pierre Poilievre's Conservative candidate Matt Strauss in his lawsuit with a Canadian university over vaccine misinformation. Matt Strauss has been active on X promoting anti-establishment conspiracy theories, claiming that the WEF is directing government policy and spreading vaccine misinformation on Russian propaganda channel RT. How much financial support has been received to date by this Pierre Poilievre's Conservative candidate from X?
Again, X does not engage in any political giving.
Which is, I'm not sure why you're saying that, because X has gone on the record to say that they are footing the legal bills for this person. So I would ask you then, again, are there any other politicians in Canada, whether at the federal, provincial, municipal levels, who X has supported financially?
No.
How much financial support has been provided to Canadian politicians in general from X here in Canada?
Again, X does not engage in political giving.
Does X have mechanisms in place to ensure that any money that has been provided, whether it's to your knowledge or not, and I'm hoping that you will come back with that information, that is being used for the intended purposes? And as I say, Mr. Fernandez, it is on the record that X has agreed that it is footing the bill for this Conservative candidate for their legal fees. And I would like to know more information about X's involvement with our Canadian democratic process.
Yeah, I'm happy to follow up with more information on our efforts around the world to support folks who are dealing with issues of freedom of speech. But we do not engage in political giving or political campaign giving.
So, Chair, given that there's a discrepancy in the information that is publicly available that has been published by X, that they have claimed and agreed that they are footing the bill for a right-wing candidate of the Pierre Poilievre Conservative Party, and the discrepancy of what Mr. Fernandez has said today, clear contradiction in what he's saying. I would like for there to be, hopefully with the consent of all of our committee, documents to be produced, the names of all Canadian politicians who have received financial support from X, how much financial support has been received to date by each of those candidates or elected officials, how much financial support each is entitled to receive, the mechanisms in place to ensure that all money is going to the intended purposes for which there has been commitments made by X to these candidates, and proof that all money to date has gone to intended purposes and that checks and balances are functioning. And then lastly, the status of all legal proceedings for all of the above that I've referred to.
Okay. You seem to be privy to information that certainly I don't have or any other members, so I don't see any problem with that type of information being requested. Okay, I'm gonna stop the clock for Ms. Khalid here. What's your question, Mr. Barrett?
So we would have to know that those documents exist for the committee to be able to request them. So
Right.
the committee does not have the power to request documents that don't exist or to request the creation of documents.
Yeah.
So I would be interested. So if this is a motion that Ms. Khalid's putting forward, what we'd like to see
I
the
can
motion in
respond to that,
writing,
Chair.
because we're just without knowing that these documents exist. To your point, Chair, I'm not really sure what the source of this is.
Yeah.
So let's see what the request is, and then we can consider it. But we're not able to provide unanimous consent for the committee to do something that the committee doesn't have the power to do.
Yeah. So,
Quote you on that later.
That's an interesting point. Can we deal with this later?
No, Chair, I do want to make a point here because I feel
so
that...
I'm starting your clock again then because you're making a point.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Sure, go ahead. And to respond to Mr. Barrett's concerns, I will read a tweet from X on May 3rd of 2024 where it says, X is proud to fund a lawsuit filed by Dr. Matthew Strauss, an Ontario critical care physician and professor, against his former employer, Queen's University, after Dr. Strauss argued against wide COVID lockdowns and mandates on his X account. His Twitter, Queen's University publicly ostracized him, retaliated against him, and ultimately forced him to resign because his opinions did not conform to the university's political orthodoxy. X supports Dr. Strauss's efforts to vindicate his free speech rights without fear of unfair retaliation, knowing and understanding that this person was a candidate for a political party. I want to know why it is that a platform that is claiming that they are protectors of free speech, and with the study that I've cited earlier, why is it that they're interfering in Canadian political democratic process?
Okay, so your time's up. I will give Mr. Fernandez an opportunity quickly to respond to that, and then we'll circle back to the information that you're asking for later.
Yeah, our company and its leadership has made clear that if there are people around the world whose employment has been affected by what they've said on the platform and exercising their free speech, that we will support them in helping defend them. So that is what that is linked to. And so I just want to make that point. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Khalid. Monsieur Villemure, pour